Hello, friends. It's a slightly chilly but pleasant night here in Jerusalem, and I want to talk to all of my friends tonight about what was announced, the so-called deal of the century. So I have a lot of friends on my wall that I notice are very concerned about what was announced about these kind of conflicting things about Jerusalem being the undivided capital of Israel, but at the same time, um, East Jerusalem somehow being the capital of a Palestinian state. And then we've got some kind of, all kind of interesting things that made a lot of people very, very concerned. A lot of my friends are very concerned. And it's interesting, I noticed during the speech that I think maybe it was both Bibi and Trump. They both commended all the people who were part of the team who sat for, days and months, coming up with this plan. And what I want to tell you guys is that the plan that was announced, the plan that you heard being announced today, does not require sitting for months and months and months and months and months. What requires sitting and thinking about and planning and orchestrating and, as Bibi mentioned, what requires a bunch of real estate guys to sit down about is actually the real plan. And the real plan is pretty much to annex Judea and Samaria. Friends, I'm just talking to you, the ones that are so concerned about whatever was announced. You have to understand. Have you guys ever seen the movie Usual Suspects, where Kevin Spacey's character, for 2 hours he sits and he is interrogated by this policeman, and he's just telling him stories, and he's looking, he's looking at the wall behind the policeman, behind the cop, detective, and he's just, getting all of these names, of these fictitious names and these fictitious characters, and he's just coming up with a story. And it's all misdirection. It's all basically just, bait and switch. It's what magicians do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely what was done today by Bibi and Trump. And what the real plan was, what the real, the thing that they had to sit on for months and months, if not over a year, was the actual annexation plan that's going to take place. Because whatever they just offered the Arabs, the Palestinians, whatever you want to call them, is something that they knew that no person in their right mind would accept. And it's something so ridiculous. If you just look at the contradiction itself, an undivided capital of Israel, Jerusalem, and yet a Palestinian capital in East Jerusalem. I don't really understand how those two things reconcile. And in fact, I don't even think they're meant to. They're not meant to. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think you're going to see something quite interesting in the coming months. The only issue is in my head, how does Israel apply sovereignty over Judea and Samaria and yet keep the peace, and yet stop the Palestinians from basically going berserk? Because right now you see there's riots in Gaza, there's riots in Lebanon and Jordan and Judea and Samaria. The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem just issued a warning, basically, not to go to certain places. So maybe this is something that the team, knowing full well all of the nuances and dynamics of what's happening topographically in Israel and logistically, and again, as Bibi mentioned, real estate people sat on and basically figured out, or at least came as close as humanly possible to figure out all the ins and all the outs. Because I can't imagine them taking a year to come up with this wonderful proposal that they just made today, which anybody could have done, sat down in 5 minutes. Here, let's propose the most ridiculous things, and that would be it. It doesn't take a genius. So, friends, for those of you who are worried, I actually have been saying this for a year. I've been saying this since last year, since they came out with this whole concept of deal of the century, that they've been working on this. I said it immediately. I said they're going to offer the Arabs something so absurd. As soon as I heard that certain things were leaking, certain information leaked that they were going to offer something about a Palestinian state or land for peace, as soon as I heard that, I knew that that's nonsense, because I know that Trump would never offer the Arabs something like that and actually mean it. And I also know that Bibi or any right-wing leader would never agree to that. So what you guys saw today was really just a song and dance, and it was just a PR stunt, and rightfully so. And what you're going to see in the coming months is going to be very, very, very interesting. And it's no surprise that we've gotten all the Arab nations on board, including Jordan, or at least the leaders, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, because there is going to be something very, very interesting on the horizon as it pertains to the Palestinians. You're going to see something, in my estimation, where the Arab nations finally own up to what they were supposed to do years ago, which is basically themselves solve the Palestinian refugee problem. Because it's not up to Israel to solve that problem. You cannot have 4 or 5 generations of people, any people, be refugees. You can't have one group of people, you can't have all refugees on this planet have one agency in the UN, called the UNHRC, and then you have a separate agency entirely for one group of people, the Palestinians, called the UNRWA, which is soon to be dismantled. Yes, you heard me. I'm just talking to the UN guy over here, and there's a couple of UN guys. So it's a little bit ridiculous, and it's about time for all the Arab nation states to solve this issue, because you know what? They're obligated to solve it, because you know what? Some of the Palestinians are, Saudis, ethnic Saudis. Some of the Palestinians are from Lebanese tribes. Some of the Palestinians from Syrian tribes. Some of the Palestinians are Jordanian tribes. Some of the Palestinians are Egyptian tribes. These people are brethren. They're not Canaanite. They're not Natufian. They are brethren with the peoples who live in these Arab nation states that surround Israel. And it's time for these people to solve this issue. If they're not going to solve it, this is going to continue. But you know what? I think they will, because I suspect, they mentioned Jared Kushner. He was the point man in offering all these nations a ton of cash to solve this issue. Here's some cash. Feed these people. Take them in and feed them. Ladies and gentlemen, a few years ago, Rabbi Meir Kahana, of blessed memory, had this idea to, he said, I'm not against Arabs. I want them to live. But you know what? Why do they have to live in the one Jewish state? They have 21 Muslim countries and a few Arab countries. They can go live in them. That's where they're from anyway. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we may just see that. Jared Kushner and company may have just lived out Rabbi Kahana's idea. It's 40 years later, or however long it took, but you know what? It's better late than never. So to my friends who are all concerned about what was announced today, just understand, this was a very, very nice song and dance, and it was just the opening, very cute opening act. I kind of liken it to what Joker did, what Heath Ledger did in the opening scene in the Batman movie, where he just kind of walks in, you want to see a pencil disappear, ta-da, and everybody in the theater clapped, at least where I was. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm clapping, because Bibi and Trump and company, they just pulled off a very, very nice trick, and we'll see what happens in the coming months. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.